Welcome back to this week's episode of Zero to Fuel Tycoon, the series in which I'm going from zero risk into becoming a known entity for fuel production in EVE Online. So since last week, I've got a promotion. I did not know that I could get promoted. I thought I was already at the top as the CEO. But Thanak reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to be a director in the Plenitude Alliance, to which I said yes. When he asked me, I got the feeling that I had when I was first invited down to Amar Space, sort of just taking a leap and going for it when such a chance is presented to you. And of course, the Plenitude Alliance, I think most of you know about it, where you can follow it in Thanak's series. But it's an alliance that's pretty much hitting 1,000 members right now. Now, my direct title is Director of Overseas Markets. And what this means is that I'll sort of spearhead development outside of Amar for the Plenitude Alliance. And a big part of that early is to identify areas for potential new Plenimarts and where we can set up other facilities. And this ties in quite nicely with Ardco, as we're already present in 3 out of the 4 high-sec regions and we have people on the ground. I will document this process. I will be making a second series. It won't be a weekly one. I'll do more sporadic uploads. And I will have to work with Thanak as well to make sure that it doesn't become a big overlap in both our series and what we present, so that I can maybe do a more detailed deep dive into the development in the different regions. And this will be good for Ardco as well, because we'll have more structures popping up with people that we have close ties to, so it will likely be more sales for us. But now let's move on to Ardco and what we've been up to the last week. And it's been a pretty hectic week, once again. First off, we established our own in-house distribution services. We've also done the first isotope transfers between the regions, the so-called one-to-one trades. But because of this distribution, we've had to restructure the payments. And we've also secured 10 billion ISK investment. And we've done that for the last point because we set up the buyback program. So we now have, whenever we make a courier contract on behalf of the corporation, it gets linked to a Discord channel, which a dedicated team of haulers have access to. So they get like the first dibs on these contracts, but the contracts are open in-game to everyone. We have a dashboard calculator that can calculate the rewards for the different contracts based on what you're hauling, and the rewards are roughly 11.6% delivery reward. This is about the 2000 ISK per fuel block that we talked a bit in previous episodes. And the 11.6 amounts to 96 ISK per isotope as well. So this is how we will be handling the payments. I will start with this at the turn of the month. And the reason we had to restructure is because with the old system, we would have made a loss and we couldn't sustain that. So we're making the system a bit more flexible. So if you look at the per fuel block value stack, now the producers will get 15,000 per fuel block. This was 17,250 before. 2K of the entire value goes to the haulers and 2.5 goes to Ardco. So the hauler and the producer payouts will be fixed in place, whereas the Ardco one will fluctuate depending on fuel block prices. Then at the end of the month, we'll have to calculate the corporation costs and isotope hauling costs and subtract that from whatever we made from the fuel blocks, which then will be our profit. And from that profit, Ardco will take 30% that will go into a fund that we can use for further development. And 70% of that goes into profit sharing, which then goes back to the producers. And here each member gets a percent of the total profits, and they'll get a minimum percentage if they have reached a certain number of fuel blocks that they produced in a month. Exactly what these percentages are right now, we don't know. We'll have to do a month first and see where we end up, what feels like a reasonable percentage. How many fuel blocks do people actually produce in a month? How many do the bigger members produce? How many does the smaller member produce? Things like that. I also reached out to 2 people who previously offered to invest and I said no to. I didn't want to make it feel like too much of a boosted start. But I reached out to these two people. They were willing to do the investments. The big scary pirate guy wanted to remain anonymous. But we also have Stranathor, which some of you will know the name of. He has a blog that is quite famous in the market circles in EVE. I want to be a trillionaire so freaking bad. And it's a very interesting journey he has done, and I really recommend you guys give it a look. I'll link it in the description. And these investments will be paid back with our 4% interest, same as we've done with the previous ones. And right before I took on these investments, I paid back 250 million to the previous investors. Here I have to be very careful so I don't accidentally create a Ponzi scheme. But it was nice finally being able to show that we actually do intend to give it back. Entire reason for taking on this investment is to help kickstart the buyback program, which will be at 90% JITA buy, and we will accept ICE, the ICE products, we will accept fuel block related PI materials, so oxygen, mechanical parts, robotics, coolant and enriched uranium, and we will be accepting ores. So this is what we will be starting with. This will probably get expanded in the future. And our co has been steadily growing, climbing up to 77 members. And you can feel it in the Discord and you can feel it online. It's getting more and more organic. It's getting more and more social. You can see how people are starting to interact with one another. For fuel block stockpiles, we are pretty set in all three regions. Galente now has 200k fuel blocks, Amar sitting at about 120. Caldari not showing that many on here, but I know we have about 400 or 500k ready to go, which is good because we might have secured the biggest order we've ever had of 400k fuel blocks monthly up there. So Caldari might be ready to be the biggest producer of our regions in just one deal. The fuel block prices continue to drop, which is a bit scary. Sitting at about 18.5 for the hydrogen ones. And the same story goes for the oxygen with a downward curve. So again, something we have to keep an eye on. Skill-wise, I'm still chugging away at the mining frigates. So sometime this week I'll be able to get into my endurance. And with the buyback program coming online, I probably need to do some more resource processing, so I can reprocess some of the ores at good rates as well. So for the previous week's goals, I failed quite miserably. Did not get into an endurance. I did not have time to do anything with the prospectors. It was just too much going on with the corporation. I have been able to delegate a bit. Before the next week, I will be doing the same weekly goals and see if I can really kickstart the low-sec ice mining. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the other series when it starts. Other than that, thank you for watching and I'll see you again next week.